An iPhone 13 versus iPhone 13 Pro comparison is just what you need if you're thinking of buying one of Apple's new handsets but aren't sure which is right for you. As expected, the iPhone 13 comes in 4 models, and if that strategy sounds familiar, that's because Apple also launched 4 iPhone 12 models nearly a year ago. But this time, the gap between the regular and Pro series is even bigger. Before starting the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Apple just took the wraps off of the new iPhone 13 series, which promises the fastest iPhone performance yet, up to 2.5 hours more battery life, new cinematic video options, and a twice as smooth display on the Pro models. But as someone who just plunked down a bunch of cash on last year's iPhone 12 Pro, those upgrades aren't enough to make the switch just yet. And even for those coming from an especially old phone, last year's model just became an even better value. The iPhone 13 Pro will apparently have the same 3-camera array as the iPhone 12 Pro, so no big changes there. However, supply chain leaks suggest it'll feature a better sensor, improved zoom, and more powerful LiDAR. In a pre-recorded infomercial, Apple executives framed the improvements in the new iPhone 13 as significant innovations, but they result in a device that looks and performs much like the iPhones that Apple touted last year. Apple said the new iPhones have a brighter screen, longer battery life, and more powerful cameras and computer processors. Having already pushed the screen nearly to the edge of the device, Apple slightly increased its size by reducing the small notch at the top of the screen. Apple kept the same flat edge design of the phone that it has used in other recent models. Apple is hoping that by adding new features and making slight design improvements, customers will keep shelling out more money. It's a strategy that has worked for a long time. The iPhone, now in its 14th year, remains one of the world's best-selling products and the centerpiece of Apple's business. Over the first half of the year, the latest period available, Apple said iPhone sales rose 58% to $87.5 billion over the same period a year earlier. The rumor mill got this one right because pricing for the iPhone 13 range is entirely in line with that of the iPhone 12. So, the iPhone 13 mini starts at $699, the iPhone 13 at $799, and the iPhone 13 Pro at $999, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max at $1,099. Storage-wise, the 64 gigabits options has been dropped, with all 4 phones starting at 128 GB, then having 256 GB and 512 GB versions. But the iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max get one advantage here in the form of a massive 1TB model. As always, the iPhone 13 mini and iPhone 13 have a big price advantage, but if lots of storage is important to you, you'll want to look at the Pro models. The good news here is that all 4 new iPhone 13 models get smaller notches. In fact, they've been reduced by 20%, which means you'll get a little more screen real estate whichever one you're using. That aside, the design of the iPhone 13 range isn't massively different from that of the iPhone 12 models, size-wise. They're all near identical to last year's models, other than being a tiny bit thicker, 0.3 inches rather than 0.29. That means the iPhone mini 13 measures in at 2.53 into 5.18 into 0.3 inches, the iPhone 13 at 2.82 into 5.78 into 0.3 inches, and the iPhone 13 Pro at exactly the same as the iPhone 13. The iPhone 13 Max, meanwhile, is a whopping 3.07 into 6.33 into 0.3 inches. The iPhone 13 mini and iPhone 13 have 2 main lenses arranged diagonally, whereas the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max have 3 lenses arranged over a larger camera module. The new Super Retina XDR with ProMotion display, which has a refresh rate of up to 120Hz, that's a lot of fancy word vomit to explain that the iPhone 13 Pro's screen can move twice as smoothly as that of recent iPhones with 60Hz displays. In everyday use, we've found 120Hz displays to be an immediately noticeable upgrade. Scrolling through web pages and photos feels faster and more fluid, and games and movies can look smoother and more akin to what you'd see on a TV. All 4 iPhone 13 handsets have been given a battery boost. though Apple never reveals the actual capacity of its phone's battery packs. But we do know that the iPhone 13 mini will deliver up to 17 hours of video playback, while the iPhone 13 will hit 19 hours according to Apple. Comparatively, the iPhone 13 Pro will offer up to 22 hours of video playback, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max will hit a claimed 28 hours. That's quite a difference. iPhone 13 mini and iPhone 13 get 5 hues: Starlight, Midnight, Blue, Pink, and Red. The iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max, meanwhile, only get 4 choices, but to our eyes, at least they're more subtle and attractive. Here you can pick from Graphite, Gold, Silver, and Sierra Blue. Finally, the iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max have a textured matte glass rear, whereas the iPhone 13 and 13 mini have a standard glass finish. Ultimately, there's not much in it when it comes to design, and it's unlikely that it'll sway your decision as to which model to buy. Apple spent much of its advertisement showing off the iPhone's new cinematic mode, a camera technology that can automatically follow and focus on a subject, resulting in videos that more closely resemble professional movies. Apple's emphasis on advanced camera technology in its iPhones is a reflection of its hefty investment in artificial intelligence to compete with Google. A few years ago, Google's Pixel smartphones used the search giant's prowess in artificial intelligence to leapfrog the iPhone's camera capabilities. But over the last few years, Apple made several aggressive moves to catch up, acquiring several AI startups and hiring a top AI executive from Google, John Giannandrea. Partly as a result, its newer iPhone cameras have received higher ratings than the Pixel. As in past years, Apple unveiled 2 separate versions of the new iPhone: the entry-level iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 mini, and the more expensive and advanced iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max. Apple largely kept prices flat from last year's models. If you want to pay less for an iPhone 13 Pro, you might want to wait for next year's iPhone 14. It's an Apple tradition to bring old Pro features to new vanilla models every year. Ultimately, it's not even certain if Apple's going to maintain this strategy for the iPhone 14 series, 15 series, etc. We've seen it before. The iPhone 6 Plus was basically the same phone as the iPhone 6, but then the iPhone 7 Plus and iPhone 8 Plus came with some additional, mainly camera improvements over the smaller versions. Then the iPhone XS Max and iPhone 11 Pro Max went with the old tactics by simply being bigger, with bigger batteries than the standard models. And then the iPhone 12 Pro Max was clearly better than any other iPhone 12 model, including the 12 Pro. So yes, pretty confusing. Now, Apple seems to be trying to find a middle ground. Selling smartphones is no joke, folks. Ask LG or Sony. But if there's one company that knows how to sell flagships, this is Apple. Overall, all 4 iPhone 13 models are relatively iterative upgrades over their predecessors. The standard iPhone 13 looks set to be a good choice for people looking to upgrade from older iPhones, such as the iPhone 10 or iPhone 11. Sensor shift stabilization is likely to help you get steadier photos in certain environments, for instance. But if you want the very best of Apple's iPhone technology, then the iPhone 13 Pro looks like the smartphone to go for. Its biggest upgrade is the ProMotion display, which is likely to be very noticeable if you're moving from an older iPhone or have never used one of our picks for the best Android phones. The camera upgrades aren't to be sniffed at either, though they don't look like they'd offer a massive upgrade over those of the iPhone 12 Pro models. We don't yet know how much of a difference this extra GPU core will make in real-world use of the iPhone 12 Pro versus the iPhone 12, but people looking to get the best out of gaming performance on the new iPhone might want to look at the iPhone 12 Pro first. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell icon for more updates and notifications. Stay safe, and we'll be back soon with another video.